is live.
Okay, you're live now.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Cydne Coleby, and I will be teaching you a little bit about graphic collaging. Can everybody hear me okay? Just type in the chat if you can hear me, please.
Are we good on sound, everyone? Usually if they don't say anything, that means we're good on sound, because they definitely say when the sound is not good. Okay, yes, someone said yes, I can.
Okay. Well, Riley, you're going to be the person.
Yeah.
All right, so I just need everybody to go to pixlr.com. We're going to be using Pixlr E for today's lesson. Once you get there, you should have some options on the left-hand side. Create new, open image. We're just gonna go to create new. Also, before I get even further, did everybody get the Dropbox link with all the images?
Let us know in the chat if you got the Dropbox, guys. Riley, I'm counting on you. Did you get it?
Because that's what we're going to be using for you guys to follow in today's lesson. Okay, let me just put it in the chat. Thank you.
And the video will also be available after anyway, just in case people want to come back and rewatch.
Ah, okay. But I mean, yeah, just if you're here now and you want to follow through.
Yeah, thank you.
Dropbox.
There we go.
Download all the images. It's going to be a quick tutorial. Is anybody here familiar with Pixlr E? If you're not, well, Pixlr is very similar to Photoshop from my experience. I'm more familiar with Photoshop. I used Pixlr for the first time literally yesterday, and it's almost the same thing. So once you get to the website and you have all your images, I just ask that you go to create new. And we're going to create a custom size document. The width is going to be 1300 by, what's the size? 1300 by 18. Sorry about that, guys. So back to create new, 1300 by 1850. We'll name this graphic collage demo. I apologize for the track in the background. And
that's fine. You're doing this from home. That happens.
Hit create, and here you should have a blank screen. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about like the window. So here would be a canvas. Over here, you'll see your layers. So we're going to be adding new layers to actually create the collages. Initially, you're going to start here on what would be the arrow tool. And what I like about Pixlr is like, if you're not familiar with things, it's very user-friendly. So when you hover over any of the tools here on the left-hand side, it tells you what they are. So you have the arrange tool, lasso tool, crop tool, liquify, et cetera, as you go through them. So the first step that we're going to do, we're going to actually use the fill tool down here, and we're going to fill it with, let's go with like a dark beigey color. Actually, yeah, we're just gonna use a dark beigey color. Oh, that's you, Blake. So you would double click on the color picker down here, sorry. So these circles down here, the two colors, double click on one. This color that we have right now actually works really well. So if you want to get the same exact color, just use the same hex reference that you see down here. So just so you know, this would be HSB and RGB. HSB and RGB are two types of color codes. H standing for hue, S for saturation, B for brightness. And then if you go to RGB, you would have R for red, G for green, B for blue. Where do you find all the different colors? So if you go here on the left, all the way to the bottom, on the toolbar, you see like these two color circles. They might be different colors on your screen. Just double click on the top color.
We also had someone else join, so that's good.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Well,
asking Cydne, do you find Pixlr easier than Photoshop, or are they like about the same?
I'm so used to Photoshop that
Okay.
Photoshop just be easier. There are certain things in Photoshop that I could do that I couldn't do in Pixlr, which was kind of annoying.
Okay.
But I feel like Pixlr is like super easy to get into. It's a good introduction to Photoshop. So if you want to
Okay.
get into Photoshop, I'd say using Pixlr is a good way to start off because they're not that far off from each other, in all honesty, and it's free.
Cool.
So nothing
Yeah.
beats free. Like
Exactly.
back in the day, I used to do like Photoshop, which would not encourage online.
Right.
Now that things are better for me, a little better for me in life, and it's also my livelihood, I actually pay for Photoshop. But if you can't, I would say use Pixel. You get good
Cool.
quality photos, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube beyond this class that teach you how to use it. And seeing people use it for like, graphics for their YouTube channel, etc., etc. So, Riley, did you find the color picker? Okay. So once you're there in the color picker, I would just say just copy this hex reference, which would be hashtag 6876761. Once you have that, click OK. And then we're going to go here to the fill tool. So it's going to be this thing that looks like a bucket or like a square, half full square with a teardrop next to it. That's just the fill tool. And what we're going to do, we're going to fill the back layer. So just click, after you click on that, click the canvas area. Let me just close this up. Next, we're going to add an image. So the image that we're going to add is going to be women's profile, which should have been downloaded from the Dropbox. So we're just going to add this lovely one right here. So once we have our image, it's gonna fill up the space. It's roughly the same size as the artboard. Now we're going to use, there are multiple ways that you can do this, but what we're gonna do now is remove the background from this picture. We just want to have the image of the lady. So what I would do is use this one select tool, which you could just click on to the background area and then hit delete and boom, it's gone. And then click this little area in between her and her hair, hit delete, and it's gone. If you're using a Windows computer, you could just use backspace. I think that would be the equivalent.
So
And
they're hitting delete on their keyboard.
yeah, delete on their keyboard.
Okay.
So delete on your keyboard or backspace on your keyboard, depending on what type of computer you're using. I'm using Mac, so I use delete. And then you would hold down Control on your keyboard or Command if you're using a Mac, and then D to deselect. So now you have free reign to do whatever you want. Now, if I hit Command Z, just so you can see, if I didn't deselect anything that I do within this little shape right here that looks like moving ants, anything would just be confined to that space. So let's say I switch the color to something darker, like no matter like where I put it, it's just gonna be confined to that space. But we don't need that. And I also don't need all those colors. So I'm gonna hit undo. Undo is Command or Control Z at the same time on your keyboard. And then we're gonna deselect again. So right now, I'm going to erase her ponytail, even though it's gorgeous, I don't need it today. So what I'm gonna do, you can do multiple things. You can either erase it, but what I'm actually gonna do is use a mask to cut it out. So if you go to the scissors icon on your left-hand side, it should be right underneath the one select tool. And then when you go up to the top, we're gonna use the draw mask. And that would be this paintbrush looking thing here at the top. Is everybody following? Hopefully. and it should automatically be set to remove from mask. Make sure that it is. If it's not, if it's to add to mask, just put it to remove from mask. And we're just going to keep the brush size, go a little bigger. So let's go to 50. And now we're just going to erase her ponytail. So just using your mouse, just carefully draw the ponytail to erase it. Don't be too like hard on yourself about getting it perfect. For me, I just like try to get the areas by the edge or by her body clean. And then after that, then you can increase the brush size and just go a bit wilder. If you mess up, just hit Control or Command Z to go back and then just try again. So just gonna be erasing her ponytail. I don't need it. And another option that you could do would be to actually just erase it. But the reason I use masks over erasing is just like, let's say, oh, I changed my mind and I wanted to keep the ponytail. If you hit add to mask, like you go over the same area and boom, the ponytail is starting to come back. But that's not what we want to do. We don't need a ponytail. So we're going back to remove from mask. And then also, we're going to remove the top of her face. So I'm just going to draw something where I remove like her eyes, follow a cheekbone, follow the hairline, over the ear, and around. So if you guys could erase like a shape like that or make something similar, that works. We just need like her ear, a cheekbone, and a nose to stay. So we're just gonna continue to erase it. So once you get a clean line, you could just like erase some more. And if like that size is just annoying, just increase it to like 100 and just erase. Or mask, I should say. Oh, sure. Sorry about that. So just erase. Yeah. Just let me know in the comment section and I'll just zoom in for you guys. I'm so used to doing this that I don't even like need to, but I forget that part. Oh, and just like see when you zoom in, you find some imperfections. So you could just go in with your draw mask again and just clean everything up. Oh, no, see, it was set to add and I want to remove. So just removing everything. Let me scroll out. And to zoom in and out, all you have to do is just scroll on your scroll wheel. It seems our lady has moved. So if you go back to your select tool, if your lady does move, you can come into the select tool at the top, the very first arrow, and just move her back. We're gonna actually put her a little bit off center over here. That's where she's gonna stay. And with that, I'm gonna come back and erase this yellow line. And I actually could use a shape tool for this. I don't have to use the brush. So automatically when you go to the cutting tool, it would be on a shape mask. You can keep it on a shape mask if you ever have to remove anything that doesn't require a large line. Move it back to remove and then just erase it. And then you could do it in a circle. You could do it in a line, however it is necessary at the time. So I like what's happening with the lady. I'm gonna do, no, I won't do that yet. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add another object. We're going to add the vintage map of the Bahamas. Lovely vintage map. When you import it, now you could rescale it by going across the corners. So when you first import it, it's gonna be a fixed scaling. So it's gonna keep your proportions, which I really appreciate that they do. Otherwise, if you want it to be free, if you wanna be able to move it around, you just hit free. If you wanna be able to scale it in any way, shape, or form, this is not what we want to do. So I'm just going to undo that and go back to fix. And a shortcut for that, if you want to know, is just to hit the shift button on your keyboard if you want to be able to do that. But again, we just wanted to stay fixed. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm actually going to go over to our layers panel. Oh no, you shouldn't have to sign in there. If you go to Pixel E at the top, it should be free. And you shouldn't have to sign in or sign up for anything, for any payment. At least I didn't. I think that's the big draw for this. If you want premium, then you'd have to pay extra. But for nothing that we're doing in the class today, you should have to pay for.
Yeah, I think maybe I just sent a reminder to go to Pixel or E because yeah.
Yeah, don't go to premium. We're not paying for anything today. So I did it, and you've made it just a little bit bigger. You would then move the layer underneath the women's layer. So when you go over here to your right, you're gonna see your layers panel. You just like drag and drop wherever you want to move stuff. So just drag it underneath, and now you see that this is behind her. So I actually don't need the entire map. I just need a section of the map. So what we're going to do is take this same cut tool using the same shape mask. And we're going to go to remove from mask. And now we're just gonna make a little rectangle because this is really all that I need. Ooh, no, sorry. I need to actually remove the opposite of that. So what I'm going to do, sorry about that guys, is go to the marquee select tool. And what I'm going to do here is just like go over the same section that I was originally going to cut. Now that I have it, hit Command X to cut, hide that, create a new layer, just an empty layer, hit Command V to paste. Did everybody follow that? Sorry for like the issue just now. So when you go back to your map, I'm just gonna undo all of that to make sure everybody's on the same page. And go to your map, go to marquee select tool, create a rectangle. Once you create a rectangle, hit Command or Control X on your keyboard to cut. Oh, sorry. Make sure that you're on the layer with the map before you do that. Hit Command X to cut, and then you would have removed the map. And then you just hit this checkbox on that same layer over here. Plus, add a new layer by clicking the plus symbol at the bottom. Go on an empty layer, Command V to paste it, and then we're just gonna move that behind the woman. And then boom, we have a map behind the lady in just a little section. Now, what happens if we wanna just create like a custom square? We're going to hit the plus, add another layer, hit plus to add another layer, another empty one. Now,
I have a question, Cydne.
Uh-huh.
Remember when we originally started with the yellow background?
Uh-huh.
Where did the yellow go?
We deleted it.
Okay.
Well, actually,
so that could have been any color to start with, or
yeah, that was just the color that came with the image.
okay.
Yeah, so on the image, it was just a lady on a yellow background.
Okay, got it.
So let's say, just not to confuse people, we deleted it. So if we wanted to add like a custom square of some sort, we just go here to the shape tool, add a rectangle. I actually want to make like a little beigey color. So I'm just gonna double click on these colors here, and I just happen to have like a nice beige color. I realized like Pixel E does like this really dope thing in which it looks at whatever on the canvas itself right now, and it picks up colors from there. So if you actually move off of the color picker and onto the board, you could actually like select colors that are already existing on the board. So
That's really helpful.
it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna pick like a beigey color from somewhere around here, like any beigey color from somewhere on this map. Hit OK, and now I'm going to create a square that's roughly that size. It should have been the opposite color. Why are you not the color I want you to be? Come on, see. Okay, hit OK. Oh, if we switch it. The color has to be at the bottom, guys. Sorry about that. So we've made our square. We can move our square all around. So I'm just gonna move it to come a little bit off the board. And it's actually gonna go behind the map. Okay, so now that we've got that going on. And I'm just gonna rename this just for ease. Click it to rename it map. So I can always find it later. Rename your layers, you can. It's a good practice if you get into it. In Pixlr, just right click it and then it opens this and you could rename the layer. Now we're going to add an image of the pineapple. Okay, now that we have our pineapple, what we're going to do, I don't want this white background that's behind the pineapple. So I'm going to go back to my cut tool and I have multiple options here as to how I could remove this white background. So I could use the magic wand, just click around it, and then the white background's gone. And boom, we have our pineapple. So now we're going to resize the pineapple to be a little bit smaller and rotate it just a smidge and put it, how's that gonna look right there? So we're just gonna move it to be by the girl's head. We're gonna rotate it a little bit more. Boom. It looks like a nice placement. We're actually going to move that behind the lady's profile. So now we have this pineapple coming back up behind her head. And I actually want to have multiple pineapples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the pineapple and duplicate the layer. So now I have two pineapples. So if I go to move it, if I go to move the pineapple, you see I have two. And I'm going to reshape. Oh, sorry, I'm zooming. I'm going to reshape the pineapple, or resize the pineapple, I should say. Scale it down using the corners, and then rotate it. So it's a little bit smaller than the other one, and just slightly shifted. If you have an issue like this, where the woman's just moving when you're trying to grab the pineapple, what you can do is just to right click on the woman's profile layer and then hit locked. That way I don't have to worry about her moving anymore. At least not right now, because I don't need her to move while I'm trying to move this pineapple. And now I'm going to need one more pineapple to fill in this space. Hit duplicate layer on the pineapple. Why are you duplicating the woman? Another way to do it is to just right click on the actual layer and hit duplicate layer if you run into that problem and just move it. Now I need this pineapple to be just a little bit small. And I'm going to rotate it by moving this little circle at the top. And then boom, I have one more pineapple. I want to shift this one just a little bit. Okay, so now we have our three pineapples behind the woman's head. So it's starting to take shape, starting to look like something. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add another element to this collage. We're going to add an image. And we're actually going to add the sea anemone. So that would be this blue one right here. What we're going to do is like one of my favorite things to actually do to images, delete that, is to actually do mask where instead of collaging, like it makes it look like it's blending on top of the person. So the sea anemone is right above her. I'm gonna right click on the layer. I'm actually gonna reduce the transparency so I could actually see what's happening here. So what I'm going to do is go to the cut tool, use a mask, because I actually want it to look as though the lady has a sea anemone coming out of her body. So I'm actually going to, why would you do that? Sorry, it just zoomed in. So I'm actually going to cut around the edge. So it's right above her body, right, shaping around her body. I'm gonna repeat this on the next side. I'm gonna make the brush a little bit smaller so I could actually be a little bit crisper. So 40 is like a good size. 41, that works. Zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And if you're not comfortable going completely close to the edge, you go a little bit further out just to get a general sense of the shape. And then when you go a little bit slower, when you get closer to the edge of a body. All right. So now that I've got it shaped to the body the way I would like it, I'm just gonna remove the excess. Make my brush a little bit bigger. We go 200 because we just want to hurry up and get rid of the rest of this. Two. All right, so now we've got this looking like it's on top of a body, which is nice as it is, but we actually want it to look a little bit more realistic, so as though it's blending in. So what we're going to do is reduce the opacity up here. So when you go to the top part, you're going to see next to the brush size, there's opacity. We're going to reduce that to about 50. And reduce the size of the brush to about 60-ish. Somewhere around 60 is good. So we're gonna just start fading it down. So we're gonna bring that fade down like little ways into our neck. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see a little bit clearer. And now we're just gonna gradually go back up. So as I go over the areas that I faded before, it's just gonna continually do it at 50%. So we're just gonna create a gradient of taking from the top and then shape, like adding more of this down. So, and then if you want to get fancy with it, you could actually curve it to match the shape of a body. Is everybody following okay? Let me know in the panel if this is all making sense to you guys. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So what we can do right here, you actually remove the opacity. You could put it up a little bit more and change the blend mode. What happens when we put it to multiply? Yeah, that actually looks pretty realistic. If you put it on multiply, oh, so when you right click, you change transparency and blend modes. Blend modes are just essentially how the layer reacts to the layer beneath it. So you could do multiply, you could do a screen, you could like play with these as you see fit, whichever like aesthetic actually that you want to do on your own, you can do. So if lighten looks like it looks the best to you, you could go with lighten. If difference looks like it looks the best to you, you could stick with difference. Or if you want to do like an overlay, you go with overlay. I'm gonna go with overlay. I like how it looks. But you don't have to listen to me. You could. This is your piece, so you could do whatever you want. In all honesty, and I just want to clean up this little section back here. Boom. Go. So now like she's draped, and then enemy like it's almost like a covering, like a tattoo of some sort, which I quite like. So I'm gonna zoom out. I like how the composition is looking. I'm gonna add another layer onto this, just because I want something happening up top here. So I'm just going to add another layer. And the image that I'm going to add is the hurricane palms. Just because I like the movement. And the whole class is about the theme of this whole summer camp is Earth and sustainability. So I'm just drawing from natural elements. So a flora, fauna, and just like how it's all affected by what's been happening with climate change. So at this, I'm gonna do a cool trick that they actually have here in Pixlr that they don't have in Photoshop. That I think is really dope. So after you've added the image, I'm going to go to the same cut tool. This is gonna be our friend the whole class. And there's this thing up there that says AI Auto. Just gonna click on that and just let it do its thing. It tells you that you need premium. Don't worry about that. If you do premium, then you don't have to worry about the ad. Right now, we just have to wait 10 seconds. Once the 10 seconds is over, hit continue, and then boom, you have like these 3 little palms that are already cut out. Way to go, Pixar. So what I'm actually going to do is flip it. So up here along your control panel, you'll see this thing up here that says flip horizontal. Click that. And I want to shift it so it's more in line to be like this. And I like it how it is, but I just want the shape actually. I don't want the full blown like leaves. So we're going to go to adjustments and we're going to go to hue and saturation. And we're gonna just like move the darkness down and move the saturation down. So I have just like these little shapes. Boom. I like what's happening there. And finally, we're going to add our last image. Oh, I lied. We have 2 more images. So we're actually gonna add the topographic map because I feel like the background isn't a little boring. So once you add this, I'm actually gonna make this really big and we're gonna put this in the back. Rotate it a little bit. And we're gonna put this all the way to the back. So on your layers panel, you're gonna drag this. You actually have to unlock this, sorry. But you're gonna drag this beneath everything. Beneath it all. And there we go. But what we're gonna do here is right click on it and we're gonna play with our blend modes again. And we're gonna put this to multiply. So it's just blending into the background. So now our plain gray background has a little bit of action going on, a little bit of dimension, a little flavor. And we're gonna do the same like fading gradient technique that we did here on the body on this background. And to make everything easier, I'm just gonna delete this layer because we're not using it anymore. So just right click on it, go to delete. To make everything easier so nothing's gonna be bothering me while I do this, I'm gonna lock all these layers. You can easily unlock them again. I'm just gonna lock them so they don't bother me anymore. Go to the topographic map. And now we're just going to go to our cutout mask tool, go back to our draw mask. It's already to 50%, which is great, but we're gonna make it a little bit bigger because this is the background. You don't have to be so precise. So we could just like shade it to make it more gradual. All right, so we've got like a faded effect happening in the background that I quite enjoy. And then my final thing that I'm going to do, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Final thing that I'm going to do is add a little conch shell because we want something to happen down here, just a little action after that. So what I'm going to do is to add the image, our conch shell. It's gonna rotate it so our conch shell is standing upright. And the same tool that we used before, this AI auto, we're gonna use right here on this, just because I don't want any of that blue. Okay, continue, and there we go. Now, this is when technology fails us. And see, it's deleted a little bit of the actual conch shell, but don't fret. Because we used the mask tool and didn't straight up delete it, I could actually add this back. I'm gonna increase the opacity to 100, reduce my brush size to about 100, somewhere around there, just so it's more manageable. And now I'm gonna zoom in. And we're gonna add that bit of the conch shell that it accidentally deleted. Now, when I did this before, it actually deleted a different area of the conch shell. So if you had an instance where it deleted a different area, it actually deleted up here. You could do the same technique. Just come back in with the mask tool to bring some of the conch shell back. Then you've got your conch shell shape again. Boom, you've got a whole conch shell. So go back to your select tool, or you could hit V on your keyboard. So just do a keyboard shortcut, scale it down. And then we're gonna put that conch shell right there. So scroll out, and I actually really like this composition. Now, if you want to give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension, this is not necessary, but if you want to, what you can do right here is like you can click on these individual elements and go to adjustment. And now you could go into the hue and saturation. So it's just like, what if I want it to be a little bit more muted? Give it a little bit more mood, darken it a little bit, maybe change the hue and saturation. I like what's happening right here. So I'm gonna put that to -5, -11, and apply. Do I want to play with my brightness and my contrast? Add a little bit more contrast. So all these adjustments you can make right up in the adjustments panel. But if I want the lady to be a little bit more moody. So I'm gonna just click on her layer and go to adjustments, hue and saturation, same situation. So she's gonna look like Vogue shot her. And then we're just going to make it a little bit more green. Let's make the whole thing a little bit more moody. Then I want to add some more darkness to our map. So we're going to reduce the brightness of the map. Increase a little bit of the contrast. Now pineapples. Now, I'm not moving these pineapples anymore. So what I actually can do, if I want to actually move the pineapples as one unit, rather than having to work with each individual pineapple, what you can do is right click on them, and then you're going to see these little merge things. So what you're going to hit is merge down. So now the two pineapples are on one layer. And then this one's the lone soldier. So we're going to merge down again. If you merged visible, it was just going to merge everything that's on the screen to be on one layout, like everything that you see. If you hit flatten image, it just flattens everything into like one flat image, so you can't click the elements anymore. It's something that you could do when you finish a project and you want the file size to be smaller for whatever reason. But for now, I just wanted to merge the pineapples so I could work on them as a unit. So I'm gonna go to my pineapples layer and adjust that because they're very bright. They're like, pow. Everything else is getting a little bit moody. So I want to make them a bit moody as well. So I'm going to reduce the saturation on them, make them a bit darker, and change the color just a little bit. Boom. Wait, you didn't do it. It's important to hit apply, guys. Don't be like me, who's rushy and forgets to hit apply. Reduce the saturation a little bit. Boom, there we go. And actually, I want to make my background a little darker now that I've made all these mood changes. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go down here to the color picker, and I'm going to make like a darker color. I'm going to switch it to like more of a bluey gray, darker bluey color. If you're on the same exact color, the hex reference is 253B3D. Hit OK. Go back to our fill tool that we used in the beginning. And now I'm just going to make that darker. So you can play around with this actual composition as much as your heart desires, as you can see. I'm going to make that a little smaller. This is fixed. I actually want to bring it up like that. So yeah, you can play around with this as much as you actually like, but for the most part, I'd say this is done. Sorry that my screen is moving so much. Move over to the middle, zoom in. Yeah. Now, I like this, how this is. So what I'm going to do is actually export it. So we're going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save. And this is where you can export it as anything. So a JPEG is perfectly fine. I leave it at high because I want it to look good. It tells you what the size is going to be at the end of the day. If you had something that didn't have a background for whatever reason, and you wanted to keep it transparent, you'd leave it as a PNG or whatever the file type you need. But for now, JPEG is fine. So we're gonna leave everything as it is, and we're just gonna download it. I'm gonna show this in Finder, and boom, we've got our digital collage. Does anybody have any questions? Do you need me to go back over anything in the class? Everybody was pretty quiet, so I assume that you were following everything easily. And if not, if you have any questions, you could always just hit me up outside the class. Just let me know. I leave my Instagram handle and stuff. If you guys need a way to reach me on Instagram, or if you just have any general questions, you could always send me an email, send that there for you guys too. You could just hit me up. But yeah, I hope everybody was able to follow the class. I hope everybody was able to hear me. But yeah, hope every.
I think they were working intently. That's why we didn't get that many questions.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, and if you want, you could also share like what you did from the class.
Please do share. Yes. Yeah, definitely share.
So all these techniques like I use in my actual work. Like if you go on my Instagram, you'll see some of my digital collages. I have a lot of my physical collages on there, but I do a lot of digital work as well. So you can see some of these techniques in practice on there. But yeah, just share whatever you want with me, please. I'd love to see
Can
it.
we get one last view of the collage, Cydne, on the
Can you?
screen?
Oh, of the screen.
Yeah, because the download box is blocking it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, did you? Were you guys not able to see like the actual like collage once it was done? Did not open to
It
that.
didn't open in Finder, if that's what you thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me switch it. So it's gonna just be sharing my desktop rather than just wait, what happened? Can you see?
I see your icons at the bottom, but I don't see
Oh,
the
okay.
actual file.
Let's go back to the file. Oop-a-doop. Oh no, you guys gonna see all my artwork file. Clean up by date 1.5. So boom, this was the final thing.
Nice. It looks great. Came out really good.
So yeah.
Yeah.
If you
So
guys
thank you so much, Cydne.
any more.
If there are no other questions, I think we're gonna end. Um, I thought that was very informative and interesting, and I learned something, so that's always good. So thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. We appreciate it.
Anytime, anytime, anytime. I've been doing this for like
Yes.
so long. So if anybody actually wants to get like more information on how to do like digital works, just hit me up because I've just been like tinkering on my own for the past like almost 10 years. And that's how I've gotten here. So if you have any questions,
Awesome.
hit me up. That's why I left all my contacts right there for you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Cydne.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
I hope
Bye.
everyone enjoyed. Bye, y'all.